Good evening, my dear friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu and the Businessline editorial analysis on 8th August 2022. I am going to discuss today three articles, two articles from the Hindu and one article from the Businessline. The first two articles from the Hindu I am going to discuss are titled Cooling the Temperatures, the first one, and Focus on Inflation, the second one. And from the Businessline, I am going to discuss an article titled The Toy Story. Friends, let us discuss one by one. The cooling the temperatures is about the US, China, and Taiwan taking pieces out of the strains, the already developed strains between China and Taiwan, and in turn with the US after the US State Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the Taiwan recently. China is clearly provoked. US President Joe Biden had warned against such a visit of US State Speaker Nancy Pelosi. However, on a political consideration, Ms. Nancy Pelosi chose to make this visit a reality, and there followed the Taiwan's 50 million people's fate to be at the hands of China. China's aggressive stance can be seen that it has operated military drills in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan Strait is the 180 kilometers stretch of water between China and Taiwan. Taiwan stretch, the 180 kilometers stretch in the sea, is separating Taiwan from the rest of Asia. China believes that Taiwan is part of China, and this is the one China policy. China is skeptic about US's treatment of Taiwan, and criticism about the one China policy. Nancy Pelosi's visit has made it clear that to Chinese beliefs, it has made clear that the US is opposed to the one China policy. The one China policy of including Taiwan within China is questioned by the US State Speaker's visit to the Taiwan. The China has conducted lots of military drills, and the missiles touching even the skies 20 nautical miles away. 1 nautical mile is 1.4 kilometers. Nautical mile is used to measure the length or the distance in the sea. China has conducted drills across the Taiwan Strait, which is a very busy seafare route. So it is becoming another trouble, adding to the Ukraine war. This China's aggression has become another trouble in the region. It is very disturbing to note that China is harking upon the war or warlike situation at a time when the world is already constricted of global supply chains disruptions. It is always said that war is left to the generals, but the question is whether the political considerations of certain people will invite war. Is it inevitable? This is not. Then moving on to the second article from the Hindu, that is focusing on inflation. It is talking about Reserve Bank of India Monetary Policy Committee's recent 50 basis points repo rate increase. The repo rate has touched now 5.4 percentage. The inflation targeting is happening now. All over the globe, the inflation targeting is happening, and all over the globe, the central banks are increasing the interest rates. US Federal Reserve, Bank of England, and European Central Bank all have increased the interest rates. The Reserve Bank of India, since the pandemic had set down, had increased the rates by about 140 basis points. Since May, it has increased about 90 basis points. The Reserve Bank of India expects this year the inflation to increase from 5.7 percentage to 6.7 percentage. Although the inflation has come down a lot in the recent month, in July, however, still the Reserve Bank of India expects the second quarter inflation to touch 6.2 percentage and the third quarter inflation to touch 7.1 percentage. So this 100 basis points increase in inflation is going ahead of Reserve Bank of India's increase in the repo rates. The repo rates are done to make the loans costlier. When the loans are made costlier, the investment will be very much less. So this is stymifying growth. The stymifying means stopping of the growth, is going to happen when these repo rates are increased. However, we have to increase the domestic consumption. The domestic consumption has to be increased only when the inflation is targeted through the repo rate increase. The repo rate increase will create the loans to be cheap, very costlier, and deposits to be very beneficial. So the liquid money will be sucked out of the economy through this repo rate increase. That is what the Reserve Bank of India is doing. But it should be seen that it should not stymify the growth. The stymifying the growth means the industrial investment will come down when the inflation targeting is done in this manner. This is the result. The end result is stymifying the growth. However, the already global supply chain disruptions have happened due to the Ukraine war, and the China-Taiwan tension is taking the global supply chain disruptions to another level, because this is happening in the Taiwan Strait where the global supply chain, most of the ships are passing through. Hence, the targeting the warlike situation in Taiwan Strait is a great danger. The global supply chain disruptions will throw inflation to the headwinds. Headwinds means the winds which come from the opposite. Headwinds are a very totally adverse situation. So the global inflationary headwinds are going to keep a steady pace. The Reserve Bank of India, on its point, wants to decrease the inflation below 6%. 4% is the preference rate of Reserve Bank of India, because at 4% the inflation level is at a very comfortable level. There is the upper limit of 6% and the lower limit of 2%. The inflation should hover around the rate at which it does not come down below 2% and it does not go above 6%. So the Reserve Bank of India, on its way, even though the inflation is going on increasing, the Reserve Bank of India is playing cautious while increasing the repo rate to see that it should not stymify the growth. It is increasing the repo rates by leaps and bounds, looking at the global supply and the global economies. Then moving on to the business line, the toy story. The toy market in the world is $100 billion. 60% of the toys are the world market is occupied by China. The Chinese cheap toys are sold at 60% of the $100 billion worth of toy industry in the world. However, recently, during the COVID times, the Chinese toys were not available because of the global supply chain disruption. Global supply chain disruption means the products are not moving out of a country to other countries. Hence, in the recent Man Ki Baat, Prime Minister had stated that the toy industry would be transformed. That is, India's toy industry is 10% of the world toy industry. That is $1 billion worth. It would be made $2 billion worth. Every $100 million worth of investment in toy industry is going to create 20,000 new jobs and 4,000 informal jobs. The clusters, 8 bigger clusters of toy factories would be created, and 30 small clusters of toy factories will be created. 30% of the toys are manufactured in Maharashtra. Maharashtra is having clusters of its own. A 600 acre toy cluster is planned in Karnataka. Therefore, India is going to give an upgrade of the toy industry. India is now having an export surplus from the toy industry. It has increased from 200 million dollars to around $326 million. The imports have come down from $310 million to $110 million. So the imports have come down by 70% and exports have grown by 61%. Hence, it is seen that the toy industry is going to cater to the domestic markets as well as the external markets. The exports are the major boost of the toy industry. Indian government has imposed an excise duty, has increased the excise duty on imports of toy, basic customs duty of imports of toys from 10% to 60%, which will see that the cheaper Chinese products do not enter the market. The Chinese toys are always blamed for its melamine contamination. The toys are always having the melamine contamination. So the toy industry is a very job creating sector. It is going to create thousands of jobs, and the toy industry is going to cater to the 300 million children in India. India is having a population of 300 million children. For them, this toy industry is going to help a lot, and the boost for the toy industry is going to help our children also. The domestic market of the toys is going to boom with the Atmanirbhar bread is being given to toys. So, toy industries, the clusters are the main focus point in which India wants to make the toy industry thriving in the domestic market. Friends, I have come to the conclusion of today's analysis of the Hindu and the Businessline. Meet you tomorrow with some more topics, and till then, bye, good night.